This is how tricky spirits and God is that things that are deemed secret or gate kept, the hidden in plain sight stuff is all about that ability to come back to you and look, like to have that looking within, like, whoa. And some of the clever, that's the thing, is like the cleverness of those who try to work around that or use a victim stance, or because that's what I realized, like cell phone companies, uh they gave the people that capacity and the ability, but it is being bought and handed to them without the proper training or realizations it takes. However, that endeavor and that activity basically brings to the surface so that no matter how clever or secret certain people are, they are known that it's, it is, there's an awareness to it. That's kind of where I'm like, in my humble opinion, humble, not so humble, I get lonely, scared, and I'm pushing through having a chronic fatigue that I'm realizing can only be taken care of by me on a detailed level. I want to walk some of the pathways that people do, because I feel like that my ass is going to get potted, and it never was. It never does. And so that's where I'm realizing, okay, no, let that go. I actually feel that the more articulation and perspective, especially if we're going to be throwing confusing shade and, trying to distract people or whatever, why not get ahead of ourselves and start working out some of this in depth dialogue that creates an awareness, that creates accountability. So a lot of I say things in a like a disdain manner about professionals, but I really, that's just like witnessing in the moment stuff that people are capable of. And I'm really realizing, like, okay, so if you want a win around your demographics of people healing, especially for those really hard demographics, utilize your information and your capabilities and some of the new information coming in to help those people rewire their minds, their bodies. One of those things, an indicator for the general public that that your community is actually putting forth this stuff, is that you're going to understand that basic needs being met, not toiled for, is part of that process. The the message I'm getting is, so that I'm saying, I'm disclosing that it's an etheric type of messaging that's coming in for me, is and the reason why is because, like, these words are words. I do stream of consciousness to display how some of this stuff can be worked out, because I found a fascination with people who were doing it on accident. So I started doing it somewhat a little bit more intentionally. And what I found with, like, the gibberish coming out of my mouth wasn't sometimes just gibberish. It was an actual messaging that provides assistance, and in some of the stuff in application. And I'm just one that is like, harm to none. Harm to none. You know, set up your games in your arenas to fight and do your stuff, but a lot of people who set things up for people on the ground are not cold and hungry, and, you know, working through some of the stuff that sometimes seems almost impossible. So what I got was a guarantee, like they said, there's a guarantee that we start addressing the stuff at a, even just for it, and it's a win for everyone: corporations, green movements, individuals, narcissists, empaths. It's a win for everybody when we start with. And it's not that hard. We have shit floating around. We're sending our fucking secondhand stuff to third world countries in, like, piles. Prada is at the secondhand shop these days. You got a young one making her grandma's fragrance that was just a dream at one time and putting it on the shelf. Yeah, people, quote unquote, stealing. They stole it from us. Ideas and methodologies and businesses. Why? Because, like, they're really attracted to it. It's not that there's a lack of it, or that they're lacking in some way. A lot of times the lack mindset is in the people of the more prominent, because of the way that the game is set up for them to have to fight and scrap. And so that's just to me, it's an overlooking, and then utilizing free will in benefit to the, and, like, I've caught that one too, where free will is being utilized in terms of, if you're going to sabotage yourself, you have free will. Like, the things that you are doing these things for are a guarantee return on investment plus. Not everybody wants to be famous. Not everybody wants to parade themselves around and, have more than others. Some people really genuinely don't mind getting up to work because that fulfills something within themselves. So with the more personal awareness, with a baseline of having basic needs provided to those in these socialistic types of, and that's like what is it, socialism or whatever the fuck you guys are doing right now. The fallacy I found in that is that the people in operation of it, like, that's a hard one when you are afraid of not getting what you want or need, afraid of losing what you want or need. That dynamic where it's like that's not there's withholding, strings attached. I found a situation where I couldn't understand why this girl was fucking yelling at me, and I realize now it's like, oh, because she saw that I saw, and so she tried to turn that shit around and feign the victim in that situation. And it's like, oh, fuck. And if a lot of people, out there, if the person looks that part of innocence, you gotta second guess that. That is a programming that we, if you're a TV watcher, what is it? Anyway, I forgot the name of it. Like that, it's a programming where we automatically, it's a hypnotic trance that we're put in to automatically have all this trust and openness for people who look that part, especially if you're a medical provider. Some of the things that I noticed is like some, people, I just think, like youth, GTA era, thought some of that shit looked really cool. So they decided to take it on. And we are missing our elder teachings around that. And what I tried to do is figure out how to understand it myself, because that's where I realized a lot of my teachings came from fragmented, very powerful but fragmented guides, like human guides. And they did a lot of healing in that time. And I know that's why we got a lot of innovative, like mind-blowing stuff coming out. And so what I realized is like, oh shit, you gotta go back in the future, or back, go back in time. That's what I mean. Go back in time, and we need to plug in those parts that actually got stolen from you. It's proving itself to be futile to those who did that. And so I have to work triple, quadruple time every day. And I know I haven't incurred a portion of what some of you have incurred in terms of being held back on having the ability to voice your lifestyle choice and perspective. But it is important that we each have a way to work through the crises that automatically occurs when you are becoming more aware of yourself on a multitude of levels. I don't foresee any mimics or AI driven created beings having especially with the ones with the major energetic consciousness. Nobody's escaping this. Why? Because galaxy universal balance is more important than your show or your play. And what I've discovered, experienced with some of the beings that, when I tune in, tell me about it. It's like it's inescapable. They will correct at any cost. And so this is where we get some of the lifestyles that we're still being faced with today, with this, for some of us, same people, same day, same, however, this is a lot of for those who are taking up space in those areas and being especially if you find yourself in those areas due to punishment, make a go of it. Figure out what your perspective is in that arena. A lot of times what I found throughout my journey in addiction cycles and self-discovery cycles is if I just said, oh my God, I really feel like using right now. Oh, I could I literally trained my brain to think that shit all the way through. So it's not a giant impulse and something that I can't control. I think I might have said this whole speech without filler words too. I have to check. I'm working on that. I'm going beyond, I'm getting over being monitored and betted on, and that was really a blow to my ego, basically. And I realize as well to sprinkle a little bit of law of attraction talk into this. I remember telling a psychologist at the college that I have, that I'm putting myself through learning about this stuff, and I was doing it for the purpose of my family and from where I came from, so that they would be afforded the ability to heal with this stuff as it actually works. So I am discovering law of attraction really is there's the simulated version where all your words are being taken into consideration is real. I just realized that there was interception happening, and I release all interception to things that are going to have the ability to help me thrive in life. Interception was happening to all the stuff that all the good stuff that I was requesting or asking for. And if you knew that you could just do that for yourself, and that your story is valuable, no matter how boring it is, at the least, it is, you don't have to do it online or anything like that, but redirect your energy, because I'm pulling my back. Every day I work on it. I pull my energy back. It's not helping anybody to work in this way. Matter of fact, I had a realization that the intention of having things set up like that is for another's ego. Because in the real reality, we have plenty for each and every one of us. What we have to contend with is relationships or people that we may have an attraction to not reciprocate that. That's not love's fault. That's human fallible motivation. Like, that's not love. And if you really get to know love is in essence that we are all, every single one of us are capable of. So, in conclusion, going back in time to do your own energy work and prepare yourself to become more aware of your body, if you are so inclined to have one, and if you are out there appeasing it with sex and food and attention, that is an indicator that your soul is all for you to be aware of your body, and that your body is not a detriment. It is the way that we approach our thinking. And there are ways to start taking off the layers of veils that was for some put upon you. For some, you did that to yourself by thinking it's okay to do that to others. There is a natural order of consequences. And when there's an awareness on that, what I gather and understand, we still need jails and prisons and those holding spaces for people. what I found is like the majority of people who use those things as a way of power and control or security is unnecessary for those reasons. And we're taught to perceive that the natural order of things is impossible or savage, in terms of we still need our input on how we deal with those things on a societal level. I also found the culmination of spiritual energy and technology, Mother Earth herself, and God have a lot of patience for our shenanigans, and sometimes encourage it so we know who and what we're dealing with in this portal that brings us all to meet and gather and commingle. And so our understanding of what trauma is right now is actually something that needs to be addressed, because it was set up to serve a few people in their ego. And that's not to, like, I acknowledge those who have been through a lot or have had a lot done to them. Look at that connection within you and do your best to not believe the lies that you're incapable of that because of what has happened to you. I have to, like, I do that every day. I have to remind myself, okay, you're not a big baby. Like, I'm a big baby. I am such a big baby. And I've proven that to myself over and over. When the rubber hits the road, I do want to strengthen in those areas. I also found my affinity and intention to actually have a baseline for everybody to come back to when they're in a realization, when they're in, with their simulated game, you know, like playing the game, to come back to. We need a space to come back to rejuvenate, heal, and have a realization of truth, especially if we're participating in games that are intentional to energies that are hard for humans to process. So it's not necessarily getting rid of what we have. It's about creating what's going to help us understand who we are and what we prefer and how we prefer to partake in our lifestyle. If you got anything out of this, may you create ways that benefit not only yourself but others. The awareness it takes to have that ability to do such, and the innate creative ability to know when enough is enough, to know not to go too far with some of these powerful activities, with tools that were intended to empower more so than destroy. I give thanks for every abundance, all the abundance that comes back to me, and my feminine energy, my feminine power. Releasing cords, siphons, anything that keeps me from having the ability to fully embody me. Whether I'm in a position of fragmentation, wholeness, experience, the culmination of me gets to be held and supported reciprocally by me. Namaste.